So here we are looking at the fourth delivery of Warhammer Conquest. So let's pop this open and have a look at what we've got. So we have, for some reason, a plastic glue bit of card packing, because they didn't give you the plastic glue bit of card packing with issue 1 and 2. We've got a Citadel paint handle, which I imagine is one of the free gifts people have been looking forward to most. We've got 4 issues. So, in here we've got Big Dry Brush Mechanic's Grey. We've got our first terrain sprue. We've got our first Death Guard character and a ruler. And we've got the plastic aggressors. So, and in the first 2 issues of the next box, we've got a sprue from Dark Imperium that gives you 2 Intercessors, 2 Hellblasters and an Inceptor. And we've got a second Death Guard character and some more dice. So, let's have a quick look. So we've got the 3 easy build aggressors with heavy flamers and power fists. This is for them. So this gives the Space Marines a very hard hitting, close in unit that's good in assault. You've got a magazine, talks about Gravis armour, introduces the Salamanders chapter, shows you how to build the aggressors. Gives you a painting guide regarding them, and then it has them fighting a dozen Poxwalkers and 3 Plague Marines, and showing what happens when you start automatically hitting things, and generally they die. So that gives you a very heavy hitting Space Marine unit. Issue 12, another magazine, a ruler, and your first Death Guard character, who is the Foul Blightspawn. So he's got a horrible flame weapon to absolutely murder stuff, and comes on a 40mm base. So, and in here, introduction to what the character is, some nice pictures of him painted up and assembled, blight grenades, more Death Guard info, including pictures of the multi-part Terminators. So a quick how to build, and then another how to paint. So Death Guard green, black, yeah. And you end up with that, which looks really weird, to be fair. Really does need, yeah, you'll come back after you get some more paint. So, and then you've got a scenario where it's him versus some Marines, and backed up by 12 Poxwalkers. He takes on 3 aggressors, 3 Reavers and Lieutenant Calcius. Yep. Issue 13. we have our first piece of terrain, being one of the Munitorum crates with 3 barrels and 4 ammo crates. So we start introducing rules for terrain. It's got a chunk more of background. You've got the assembly instructions for the crate, and then you've got it starts bringing in proper data sheets at this point to give you much closer to the full game, and it introduces terrain and things like that. That's good. So, and then another magazine, and then last and to be fair, definitely least out of this delivery, we've got a Pops Mechanica Standard Grey and a big fat dry brush. So to be fair, a dry brush is a good thing to have, but let's have a look. We've got more background stuff, painting the container, talking about dry brushing, how to paint your containers, things like that. This, you've got to undercoat them with spray. How to paint the rest of the terrain, because I imagine it's because the previous issue was absolutely full of rules and background, so they go through how to paint the scenery in this, so that you end up with something very much like this. So, and then introduces morale, keeping track of casualties, gives you the data sheets for aggressors and the librarian after you get data sheets for a lot of the earlier stuff in the previous one, and it introduces scenarios. So in this one you've got librarian, aggressors and intercessors versus Blight Hauler, Plague Marines and Poxwalkers. So is this good? This is a £15 character on its own, this is a £20 set, this is £10 worth of a £30 terrain set. So model wise, yes. You've also got the paint handle, which is great, a large dry brush, which is good to have, and another pot of paint. So the paint one is the one closest to the cover price, but looking at it, it is another very nice delivery. Particularly good on the aggressor's sprue are the things to use to put on the bases. So the crashed servo skull, the little reliquary and the bolter. You could always use, particularly the crashed servo skull, as an objective marker by putting it on a 25mm base, and it makes a good little objective marker. So you've got a character that's well worth having, and absolutely you want to take in a proper 40k Death Guard army, and he's got a Nurgling with a grenade which you can put on a separate base to use to track his special grenade in 40k. So again, really solid, really nice model. Munitorum armoured containers are very nice, very handy to have, and a nice scenery piece. Going through it, you're almost playing full games of 40k at this point. You've got 2 Marine characters and 3 Marine units. You've got 1 Death Guard character, 1 Death Guard vehicle, and 12 Poxwalkers and a unit of 5 Plague Marines with a spare champion. So you're starting to get to having around 500 point forces and playing a proper game. So for new people starting out, you're starting to get to the point where you've got what you need to play proper games of 40k. The next stuff you're getting is going to take your Intercessor squad to 5, introducing scepters and units that can fly, and give you another Plague Marine character. At some point soon you're going to start seeing the bigger characters, the Captain in Gravis armour, the Captain, the Chaplain, the Apothecary for the Death Guard, the Plague Lord characters. I'm trying to remember what the specific name for them was, but proper solid horrific close combat characters. So yeah, looking really good so far. Certainly I would continue to recommend it. It's definitely worth the asking price, particularly with some of the freebies you get in. And yeah, it's a good intro to 40k for particularly the younger readers, and particularly people who want to pace their projects and build up a Death Guard and a Ultramarine stroke Primaris Marine army at the same time. For those of you who are proper serious 40k players, Primaris are getting rebalanced, as are Marines in chapter approved and with things coming out next year. So I think aggressors are going to get much more of a unit that you want to take. Death Guard are really good at the moment anyway, and certainly in Kill Team you would want to take this guy. So that's a review on Delivery 4 of Conquest. Still really good, I think, particularly for starters, particularly for people who want to build up armies slowly over time. But excited to see where it goes next, because we're going to start seeing even more stuff coming through and more terrain, I think, as they build up the battlefield and the units that you've got on each side. I would love to see some Death Guard Terminators, and there are easy build Terminators that they can separate, one sprue Felthius, one sprue Terminators. Love to see them do that, and I think they probably will at some point soon. But yeah, still really liking the delivery, still quite impressed with it, would still recommend it to particularly new starters. So if you've liked this video, hit like or subscribe. If you feel strongly, leave a comment below. But otherwise, good gaming.